I know. I promised that I would be. Fencing with a piece of charcoal. You know, parrying and jabbing. The next time you saw what was going on with this paint. But today was very broken up. I could only play with the painting in dribs and drabs and bits of splashes here and there. And I ended up with a pretty good mess, as usual. So I'm just going to continue with the mess now. And I've started, as you can see, with some very dark paint. That's ultramarine blue. And burnt sienna. And some paint thinner. And that's more or less what I've come up with. I think I'm likely going to lay in some distant hills here, or a tree line or something like that. I'm tempted to bring the sky right to here, but I think I'm going to bring the distant shore up a little bit. We're not going to paint that right now, though. I'm just going to, because I've gotten as far as I have, despite the mess that it is. I'm just going to grab a little bigger brush here, and we're going to mix up some ultramarine blue, some yellow ochre. We're staying away from white. No white. Hint of burnt sienna. And of course, a little bit of paint thinner. The lines in the rock, as you can see, are weird. Some will stay. Some will go. Ooh, I wish I could just do that. We have, look at this line. The back of this tree going right down through that rock. Terrible design flaw. Terrible. Just terrible. Here too. This is not so bad, but it's doing the same thing. Lining up with this crevice here in the rocks. And then we come down with this side of the tree and we're sliding down the rock. Same angle almost, Here as well, you just keep, bad, terrible, terrible. I'm not going to say we'll fix it. How about if I just say we'll deal with it later? Because sometimes, in some situations, it's actually okay that things line up in that way. And right now, that's the last of my concerns. Oh, something that is also a concern, actually, is one of you guys commented that my audio is not so good sometimes when I'm painting, and you are right. I tend to mumble a lot, and when I'm not aiming in the direction of the camera, it gets, my voice gets a bit washed out. It's kind of like, mumbling. And then sometimes I'll speak quite quickly as well. Little staccato bursts of statements that are kind of almost under my breath. I apologize for that. Thanks for reminding me. I'll probably need the odd reminder in the future as well. Just nip me on the heels. If I need to, if I get too slack that way. The lines in the trees too. I'm not trying to do anything perfect here. I'm just generally, as always, I'm really just getting rid of the white. I think, all right, I'm I'm not going to bet the farm on this, but I think I'm likely going to go with a knife. Probably going to use a painting knife on this. That being the case, especially that being the case, I would like to stay fairly dark with my wash-in, because laying some intense knife strokes against a dark underpainting can really help to create a lot of drama, and especially with a knife, because a knife is already a very dramatic way of painting. It yields some strength that you just can't get with a brush. Well, you can, but I'm not sure why you would bother using a brush if you can use a knife, if that's what you're after. The light will be coming from right to left. I would like, well, my plan is to have strong light. Well, there's our main tree, right? Our main shape, our main sculpture. Some strong light here, you know, so, getting stronger, getting punchy, hitting the rocks, getting really punchy. And then sliding to the right a little bit and heading down to the left. This tree also is going to get punchy towards the bottom, but not up top. Here, that tree is probably going to stay somewhat subdued. I don't see a reason for making that strong. Also, I don't paint very many paintings that have a lot of fetch or a lot of wave pattern in the water. This one, I would like to, see how all the trees are sort of yielding to the wind, heading to the left? So the wind's coming from the right as well. I'd like to indicate some fetch on the water, some wave patterns. Trying to keep it a bit loose in the foreground. I might end up in the foreground putting some rock structure. Left hand side or right hand side, not in the center. We've got enough going on centrally. You know, somewhere right or left hand side, I don't know, I'm not sure. I will not decide until I get into painting. Until I get into actually painting the water. Excuse me. So yeah, you can see I'm staying dark. I'm tempted to put it some lighter strokes where the light's going to be, but I don't know if I want to. Because let's face it, when you're using a knife and you have a fairly opaque underpainting, your knife strokes stand out even more strongly even where the light's going to be. Even where the light's going to be, if your underpainting is dark and you lay a slash of strong light on top, it becomes more dramatic and stronger than if you've already sort of, if a value scale goes from 0 to 10, if you're already a 5 when you do your underpainting, then you lay a 10 on top with your knife, it's not as strong as if you stay quite low. Keep your values around a 3 or a 4, and then you lay that 10 on top. Wow, bang, it pops. And making a painting pop these days seems to be kind of a popular notion. So I'm not sure how well the camera picks up the different values I'm playing with. The different values I'm playing with. Sorry, stop mumbling, Phil. Don't mumble. Okay. My pile of paint is getting a little bit too thinned off. We do not want it thinned off. Yeah, it looks very dark against, only because the canvas is white. It's not because the paint is actually that dark. It's not. In fact, I've revisited the values on a painting often. You know, where I thought I'd laid in adequately dark lines, because I often use lines to contain my subject, or various subjects. But I've had to revisit the thing sometime just because I never made it as dark as I needed to. But being a knife painting, it's not likely to go that way this time. Okay. Excuse me. Coughity cough cough. Fresh roll of this very high-end stuff that I use to clean my palette and clean my brushes. And yeah, you know, when I started to, not with the rocks, but when I started to draw some of the shapes in the trees, I actually used a pencil, just graphite pencil, and fairly lightly, what is this, an HB2, number 2, just sketching a few things lightly, because I knew that I didn't have a strong, clear vision for the shape of, especially this tree. So I started with a pencil that the camera probably doesn't pick up, but I can with my eyes. So that I laid in my first sketch very lightly with the pencil. Ended up having to draw several, I draw several shapes, roughly the same one, but making changes and modifications to it. I didn't erase any of the lines because it's drawn on so lightly it wasn't a problem. Once I was reasonably happy with my pencil sketch or outline, then I jumped in with my piece of binderless charcoal. It's just roasted willow. That's all it is. And went in with over top of some lines. Again, every time I touched it, I tried to improve on my shapes. And then once I was happy with my main charcoal lines, I ignored some and the others I painted. You can see I've ignored different ones in different areas. Then I went with my dark paint, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and turps, and started to lay in things. And you can see that I've just wiped them off. I'm not going to clean it off. I don't have to do that. I just wiped them off with a piece of toilet paper in places where I decided I'd gone a little too heavy on stuff. Now, the outline of all of the trees are going to get modified a little bit. This is very bulky, This looks like one thing stacked on top of another. Those are small things, and they really only take a matter of a fraction of an inch or a few millimeters to change the shape drastically. It's amazing how little it takes to make a big change on shapes like this. And that's probably mostly because we're looking at dark paint against white canvas. But it's kind of important to do ASAP. as early as possible in the painting, as soon as possible. I'm probably just going to take raw umber now, for the most part just raw umber, and we're going to paint in the rocks. But there's a couple of things around here that I'd like to make decisions on first, because I may just use the raw umber in certain areas and then add a little bit of ultramarine blue to it or cobalt blue to it in other areas. There may be a couple more lines I want to put in here. I know a bunch are going to be gone. You know, we have this odd diamond shaped thing going on here. Well, diamond, hexagon, or whatever you want to call it. Some things are okay, but I'm going to go sit in my thinking chair right now and think. And after that, I'll lay in a few lines. It's funny, I think for a while, but then when I, what is it? I think Nancy O'Toole, one of my former students, told me that when she was at a workshop with Nancy O'Toole, Nancy had told her, plan like a tortoise, but paint like a hare. The planning, yeah, that takes most of the time. There's no doubt about that. That way you give yourself good solid lines. It's all well forethought. And then you can just go in, follow the lines for the most part. Let me take the camera and square off so that you can see not specifically what I've done so much as how it looks proportionately. If it's squared off, you get a much better idea how things are looking. So I'm sure at this moment you can see why this boil bothers me. It needs to be cut up a little bit. Not much at all, but a little bit. This as well. It needs a little. It doesn't look that natural. It needs a little more work. Just a little bit of finessing. Anyway, that's another one of my chores for tonight. Beyond that, I hope you are having a good weekend, and we'll see you later.